recognition of Veterans Day, would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now would you please be seated? Why do we celebrate Veterans Day? The reason why we celebrate Veterans Day is because this is the one day where we get to take a chance to celebrate, honor, and thank all those men and women who fought and served in the armed forces of the United States, whether it be in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, or any of the other academies that I forgot to mention. This is the day that we picked to celebrate that. Why November 11th? Well, hopefully Mr. Decker and Mr. Sawyer told you that November 11th was the last day, called Armistice Day, is when it indicates the end of World War I. So every November 11th since then, we have been taking time to recognize and honor our veterans. Now, almost everyone here, if you think about it, you know a veteran, whether it be your mother, father, brother, sister, grandparent, or some friend that you graduated with, or you might graduate with. You know these people. There are enough veterans to go around. This is the day that we want to thank them, and especially thank them for their service. I know we have a list, or at least we've started a list in the Commons of some of our special graduates that are veterans currently serving, or they might have been out of the service since then, but once a veteran, always a veteran. So I'm just gonna, at this time, read over the names of the ones that we have in the Commons. If you know of anybody that has graduated or went to Blue Ridge and is a veteran and is not on that, their picture is not on the wall, please contact us and we can arrange so that happens. We have Austin Cox, who's in the Marines. Kyle Jenkins is in the Air Force. Jacob Wilcoxon is also in the Air Force. Matt White is in the Navy. Daniel Gilbert is in the Marines. Kane Long is also in the Marines, along with Forrest Boggs. Richard Pruitt is in the Army. Austin Weinmiller is in the Marines. Keegan Lyle is in the Navy. Justin Williamson is also in the Navy. And Gabe Jenkins just recently joined the Marines. So I want to take special time to thank these people. Also, as you go throughout the day, if you see a veteran, thank them for their service. They may not talk too much about what they've done, but they will really appreciate it if you thank them. So please do that, and I hope all of you enjoy your Veterans Day.
Good morning, Blue Ridge. I am Justin John Williamson, class 2019, coming to you from the USS Benfold, a guided missile destroyer stationed in Yokosuka, Japan. I've been in the Navy for a little over a year now. Joined the Navy summer after my junior year of high school. I finished my senior year, and then I left for Recruit Training Command in Great Lakes, Illinois. Spent 8 weeks there, good old Navy boot camp. And then I left for San Diego, where I spent 36 weeks learning my job as a sonar technician. And then finally made my way out here to the Benfold. My job as a sonar technician on board USS Benfold is that of ASW, or anti-submarine warfare. In anti-submarine warfare, we detect, localize, and track enemy submarines utilizing active and passive sonar. Active sonar it's kind of like what you see in movies, you know, put sound in the water, goes out, hits whatever you're looking for, comes back, and you get information based off of that return. Passive sonar is a little more simpler than that. You just passively listen to whatever sounds are in the water, you know. You then use, you maneuver the ship, and you just listen to whatever sounds are out there, see if you can get the information you need to find whatever you're looking for. But there's a lot of other interesting little tidbits that go along with that. Not only do you hear, you know, ships, merchant ships, pleasure craft, but also your biologics such as dolphins, whales, and out in Japan you hear a lot of shrimp. It's kind of funny. They make a constant popping noise and it just doesn't stop out here. This last year in the Navy, I feel like I've lived a lot of life, Lived in 2 different cities, 2 different continents, learned a whole new job, and learned to work with people from different backgrounds all over the country, even different parts of the world sometimes. Not always been easy, Leave your family behind. It's been about a year since I've been home now. It's taken a lot of getting used to it. It's a whole different experience. But I'm optimistic about the future, and I've definitely been glad to learn what I have. It's been worth it. And thank you for your time. This is STGSA Williamson on board USS Benfold. Thank you. God bless.
Color guard.
2,
Can't. Put.
1.
Right shoulder arm. Forward. Mark. Inhale. Up. Legs forward. Post color. Present arm. Order, arm. Call, arm. Right shoulder arm. About, hey. Forward, arm. Color guard, halt. Fall out.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Say, can you say by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we walk, were so gallantly screaming, and the rockets went clear, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that
Hi, my name is Martin Kopp. I enlisted in the United States Army in February 1967 for a 3-year enlistment. I went to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri for my basic training, and from basic training I was sent to Fort Eustis, Virginia, and I was trained on a helicopter as a crew chief. And there are 4 people on a helicopter, and that would be the pilot, the co-pilot, the door gunner, and the crew chief. And the crew chief is also a door gunner, and we were sent to Vietnam as a crew chief on a helicopter, and my company's name was the 240th Assault Helicopter Company, and our nickname was the Greyhounds. And we had this motto that said, "Leave the flying to us, take the Greyhound." Once we were over there, we were not forced to fly as a crew chief or a door gunner. They paid you more money as a bonus for flying. That they called it flight pay. But for the pilot and co-pilot, they enlisted as officers, and they were forced to fly. They could not get out of it. They could not choose whether they fly or not, because that's how they enlisted. And we were in our camp was called Bearcat, which was a little bit north of Saigon. And Saigon is not there anymore. It's called Ho Chi Minh City after we left the country. And from Vietnam, I went to Fort Rucker, Alabama, and I served the rest of my time at Fort Rucker. And there at Fort Rucker, I got into what they called the second school support, and I was blessed to be working with a group of officers. There was 28 officers, and they taught a thing called MOI, and that stood for Methods of Instruction, and they taught Army individuals how to be an instructor. And I helped, me and 2 other guys, we set up classrooms for them. We cleaned the classrooms. It was a blessing. It was a nice job, and I was glad to be able to finish my service there. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Sarah Whitehouse, and I'm a junior at Blue Ridge High School, and I'm here to talk about my entry last year into the Patriotic Art Contest sponsored by our local VFW auxiliary. And this is what it looks like. I did it with acrylic paint, and I titled it Sacrifice because it's meant to stand for America, which is the hands thanking our soldier for the sacrifices that he has made. And with this painting, I placed first in the local and the district and the state contest, and then I placed 8th in the national contest out of about 4,000. And along with this piece, I was asked to write an essay or a description for the painting, and I will read that for you. This piece is titled Sacrifice because of everything that the pictured soldier has given for our country. He is shedding tears for those that he has lost and the places he has left behind. The hands that hold his face are painted with the flag to symbolize that the people of our nation are here to thank and support him, as well as all other military members and veterans. The soldiers in our military sacrifice their lives to our country every day, and the people of America would not be here and safe without them. Although it is slightly hidden in the painting, the word sacrifice is on the soldier's name tag, again reinforcing all that this soldier and all military members have given for us. With the support and love that America shows for our soldiers, they are willing to give everything for our country to reciprocate the love so that we may live in a safe and united country. I strongly suggest that people enter this contest this year because it is a great opportunity for scholarships. Personally, I earned over $1,000 and $550 of that it comes to you in cash, and then the other part goes towards your future scholarships. So once again, happy Veterans Day, and thank you to all veterans for your service.
Hey Dad, thanks for being here today. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name's Derrick Fernandez. I'm married with 3 wonderful children, and I've been living in the Blue Ridge community for the past 10 years.
Can you tell me a little bit about your time serving in the Navy?
Yeah, I was an electronics technician on board a naval nuclear submarine, the USS Albany, and I spent 6.5 years serving out of Norfolk, Virginia.
What's it like being in the Navy?
It's a lot of really long days. Instead of having 24-hour days on a submarine, you have 18-hour days, and your day is split up. 6 hours standing watch, myself as a reactor operator. After that, you have 6 hours of off-watch time, which you typically spend either cleaning, doing maintenance on the various electronic systems that need to be maintained, and every once in a while, a little TV time.
Are there any memories you have that you would like to share with us?
Yeah. One happened early on when I first showed up to the submarine. My first experience with what's called angles and dangles, where after the first thing you do when you take a submarine out to sea is to check to make sure everything is strapped down properly, because if something comes loose, it could potentially kill somebody. So what you do is you gently tilt the submarine up and down and roll it side to side, and then more vigorously and more vigorously. So at one point, after we had tested everything and everything was good, the submarine was tilted down so far that I was literally standing on the side of a cabinet. You couldn't stand on the floor if you wanted to. So if you weren't strapped into a chair, standing on something, you'd be falling down. So that was pretty fun. The other one memory that I have came at the end of my time there, where the captain wanted to test how ready we were in case of a real situation. And normally when you run drills, you know that it's going to happen. You know you're being tested. But here, only he knew and a couple of other people. And we got a report that there were torpedoes in the water. And nobody knew it was fake. We all thought it was real, so we had to respond quite quickly to try to get the submarine going as fast as possible. And it was pretty scary because I seriously thought I was going to die then. Obviously I didn't.
Sounds like a very scary experience.
It was.
Are there any opportunities that you've had that you don't think you would have had if you had not joined the Navy?
Yeah, I think so. Currently I'm a senior reactor operator at the Clinton Power Station, and it's a very demanding role. And a lot of the things that I learned in the Navy, really how to think, how to problem solve, and just how to get things done in general, allowed me to be successful in that opportunity.
I see that you have this award here. Could you tell us just a little bit about it?
Yeah, it's called the Emerald Shellback Award. It's received after you've performed a special ceremony and you've crossed the equator at the prime meridian. Um, super secret ceremony. The only way to know more about it is to actually join the Navy and go through it.
Sounds very interesting. Do you have any advice for any new recruits or people who are interested in joining the Navy?
I think it's important to have a goal. Joining the military sometimes seems like a goal, and it could be, right? But there's more to it. As a person that's growing up, choosing careers, making life choices, having a goal helps you work towards something in your time. And as you change and as you grow, you should definitely think about changing that goal so that you continuously improve and continue to grow.
I think that's very good advice. Well, that's all we have. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Carly Warner, and this is what patriotism means to me. This past summer, on the 4th of July, I went to a casual cookout that was hosted by my two aunts. We ate some really good food, including one of America's favorite grilled foods, hot dogs. After eating, I swam in the pool and had a good time celebrating America with my family. The 4th of July always makes me think of patriotism, and it means many things to me. One thing I think of when I hear the word patriotism is being a proud and loyal citizen of America. During hard times in our country, and even the whole world, we stick together. Ronald Reagan said, "We can't help everyone, but everyone can help someone." Americans try to help whoever we can. For example, people at my church volunteer to go on mission trips to Haiti to help citizens that live there. We show pride and loyalty to America by helping others that need it. One of the great things about patriotism is that it doesn't have to be performed in a big way. Every act of patriotism will still mean something. Having days of remembrance for past events in our country is one of the most patriotic actions we make. It really shows that we care for the people who did amazing things for our country. We don't know them all, but we owe them all. Whoever said this meant that we don't know everyone that is a veteran or is actively serving in the military. We need to appreciate them greatly, and that is exactly why we have Veterans Day. We want to remember the brave veterans that risked their lives for us. These events bring people together and show our American pride. These are things that patriotism and America mean to me, but like Audie Murphy says, freedom is what America means to the world. The 4th of July cookout I attended made me realize what patriotism means to me, because our freedoms allowed us to gather together to celebrate our country. We are very fortunate to have food, water, and electricity, not to mention all of our freedoms. Americans often take these privileges for granted. Don't waste time being grouchy about things you dislike about America when you can be enjoying life in this great country. We never know what can happen in life, and we only live once. Choose to live life with patriotism.
God bless America, the land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairie, to the ocean, wide and full. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Hello, hello, hello. I'm Ollie Yeagle, and I'm reading you my Patriots Pen essay. Once, on the 4th of July, I asked my dad why we shoot fireworks on the 4th of July. He explained to me that they remind us of the last cannon shots before we win the Revolutionary War. Every time my family and I go to see the fireworks, I always think of the patriots who fought in the war. I still remember that explanation, but that made me wonder, Just what is patriotism to me? In my mind, patriotism is several things, one of them being protecting your country in every way possible. To me, patriotism is how the police protect. For the police, it's do or die, protect and uphold the laws. Every day and every night, we have the police to protect us. Protecting other people is patriotism because you must protect something and love your country to truly be a patriot. They protect and help people they don't know, and they might never ever know. The police put their lives on the line all the time and for their country, and only for their country. For instance, take the events on 9/11. The police and other first responders ran into those burning buildings, thinking the possibility that they might not make it out alive, but knowing they had a job to do. Just like the cannon fire they represent, the police and their acts of patriotism should be remembered forever. To me, patriotism is this quote by John Adams: "You will never, ever know how much it has cost my generation to preserve your freedom, and I hope you'll make good use of it." We will never, ever, not ever truly know what it cost to for them to preserve our freedom. The last thing that reminds me of patriotism is the veterans who fought in the war. Those brave men put their lives on the line to preserve the country they knew and they loved. They were shipped out to foreign places such as Korea and Asia and to, to fight only for America and preserve their freedom. Just like the fireworks on the 4th of July, every veteran is different. They're all special and they need to know that they've been celebrated throughout the years. These are the few things that are patriotism to me, and I know that our country is so special and we should respect it. This is how the fireworks on the 4th of July remind me of patriotism. Thank you for your time. This is Ollie Yeagle, and I just read to you my Patriots Pen essay.
Hey Blue Ridge, my name is Shalonda Fernandez, and I've lived in the Blue Ridge community for about 10 years now. Some of you may remember me from last year. I did the program for the Women's Day program. Just a little bit about my time in the military. I served in the United States Navy for about 6 years. I served on board the USS George Washington, which is a carrier, from about 2004 to 2007. And then my last 2 years I served at a shore command. I was a second class petty officer by the time I got out, and that was under the rate, or my job was a nuclear electrician, which basically means that I worked on all the electrical components from light bulbs to very large circuit breakers, but they had to do specifically with the reactor department. Anything outside the reactor department, we had traditional electricians who would work on those. So just a little bit of background. My parents were in the United States Navy as well back in the 60s. And I tell you, my Navy was definitely different than their Navy. Some of the things were the same, but they had it pretty rough. They were really hard on them. One of the biggest things is that boot camp for me was in Great Lakes. While my father went to a Great Lakes boot camp, my mom went to a boot camp that used to be in Florida, which they no longer have. Now, mind you, boot camp in northern Illinois, Great Lakes, is mighty cold if you go in the wintertime. So if you can time your recruitment if you decide to join, I highly recommend trying to go in the spring or the fall, because it was not fun to run in full winter gear when I was going through. I could literally feel the frost building up on the back of my ski mask as we marched outside. So it was very interesting. We did come out of it quite strong, and we built up some muscle having to do that, running and marching in the snow at times, but it was definitely an experience. So a lot's going on at boot camp. When you first arrive, they're sifting through dozens of people, trying to put everybody in different divisions. That just means that they break you up into smaller groups, still quite large, probably about 20 people, 20 or more per division, depending on what type of division you were in. I was actually in an integrated division, which means half of us were women, half were men. Most of the divisions were actually all men, but I was in a special division. and we also had a specific job. Now, not every division will do a job, but my specific division was the flag division, and that just means that our job was to do something special during our boot camp graduation. So we had flags, which means that besides our other basic training, we had to learn how to hold and march with flag poles in our hands, basically. It just was a little something to help represent each of the states, you know, from where people were coming from when they joined the military or joined the Navy. So it seems like it would be pretty simple, but it was actually pretty difficult. If you've ever been in band and you've marched for a really long time, you know that, or stood for a really long time, you know that it's actually kind of difficult to do, because if you don't stand a certain way, if you lock your knees or whatever, you don't get that blood circulating, you can pass out. And unfortunately, we had a couple of people who dropped during boot camp. One of them was with my friend. They were okay, but you know, it just it's interesting when it happens. You get, you know, you're scared for your friend, but they make it. It's fine. It's just something you got to remember when you're going through it. There were other special divisions. Some of them were in band, and they would perform drums or whatnot to help us march through every division during our boot camp graduation. So there were other divisions too, but you can learn about those if you ever decide to go through. Obviously, there was a bunch of other different type of training with firearms, fire safety. We did gas mask training, and things like that. I think for me, the hardest was the swim training, because we had to do different proficiency tests with full gear on, including our boots, and that was always scary. And I'm not a floater, and you had to learn how to float on your back for a certain amount of time, and I almost didn't pass. I actually had a friend who had to stay at boot camp for an extra week or so because she failed some of her swim exams. So there's a lot more to it. I mean, you know, boot camp was not always fun. In fact, some of it was actually pretty grueling, but you come out of it learning a whole lot about yourself and what you can endure, and obviously a little stronger if you've actually worked out and let that be a positive part of boot camp for you. And obviously you make a lot of friends, which is really cool. I've kept up with some of them even from boot camp, but once you leave there and everybody goes to their ships, it's difficult to keep up sometimes. But again, it was in Great Lakes. It was about 3 weeks long. Hopefully when we get together physically again, I can share some more with you guys. I actually brought my boot camp yearbook. It's called The Keel. I'll show you just one picture of me in flags. It's if you take a look there, you can't see it's in black and white, but just a little taste there. But so that's just a little bit about me and when I was in boot camp in the United States Navy a few years back. If you guys have any questions, I'd love to answer them. Hopefully, like I said, we can spend a little more time together next year at next year's program when we can be all together again. Somebody I'm sure has my email. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Being a PE teacher as well as a history teacher, I wanted to connect the two classes, and after doing some research, I came across the idea of doing a walkathon. And you know, being physically active is important, especially in this day and age of COVID and everything. And with Veterans Day coming up too, that was a great opportunity for me to bring in my history knowledge into my PE classroom. So I decided that doing some type of fundraiser for local veterans would be a great idea, and I came across the idea of doing a walkathon. So you know, hopefully it's going to be a great turnout. The kids seem to like the idea, and you know, the VFW does a lot for our school anyways, and I thought it was a great opportunity for the school to give back to them for a change.
My name is Mike Jenkins. I was privileged to serve our country as a U.S. Marine. I got out as a sergeant after 4 years. I served between 1988 and 92, several years in country, most of the time overseas. The final year of my service was during the first Iraq Gulf War, Desert Storm. I was a combat engineer during that time. It was my job to clear the minefields during the initial assault. I also did prisoner of war handling and major cleanup to return home. I did not graduate from Blue Ridge. I'm actually from Champaign, and graduated from Central, but I have a couple of sons who graduated from Blue Ridge, and 2 of them now serve in the military. One is a tech sergeant in the Air Force, and the other one, Gabriel, he is a U.S. Marine like his old man. I think the one thing that I was able to get out of the military is discipline and leadership. In fact, after my time in the service, I don't think I have not had a position where I didn't serve in some sort of leadership role, and the military was instrumental in making that happen. Discipline, learning to follow orders. In fact, one story I always like to tell is when I actually disobeyed an order, and that was in the Philippines. We were doing survival training, and the very first thing that the instructor told us to do was, told us not to do, was not to throw rocks at the monkeys in the Philippines. The monkeys were all over the place. And sure enough, you tell an 18-year-old, 19-year-old not to throw rocks at monkeys in the jungle, the very first thing that we did was, upon seeing a monkey, was throw a rock at him. We were in the Philippines for about 3 or 4 days, and after we threw the rock at the monkey, the monkeys retaliated immensely. In fact, they in return for the next 3 days threw rocks at us while we were in the jungle. And unfortunately, monkeys, well, they don't have rocks. They live in trees, so they threw the only thing that they could think of at us, and unfortunately, that was, well, it was monkey poop. So I learned quickly that when somebody gave you an order, you don't question the order, you just follow suit. And I did. I enjoyed my time, and I would recommend for those who are a little bit unsure about what they're going to do in the future that they serve our beloved country in the military. It gives you great opportunities. Thank you for your appreciation to all the veterans out there, and thank you very much. God bless.
A veteran may be young. A veteran may be old. But one thing is for certain. The stories must be told. A veteran of the Navy has helped to keep us free. A veteran of the Army protected our country. A veteran of the Air Force. We always will remember for fighting for our freedom. Of the 11th of November. A veteran of the Marines has earned such great respect. For giving so much time to defend us and protect. A veteran of the Coast Guard has served our country too. We show respect and thankfulness. And our love goes out to you.
You cannot separate peace and freedom because no one can be at peace unless he has his freedom. This influential quote is by the civil rights leader, minister, and activist Malcolm X. It is known that the United States has many positives about it, such as the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, and the right to elect our leaders. However, are these statements true or are they false? Is this the United States that the Founding Fathers imagined? When the country was founded, it was meant to be a place where all the peoples in it were free and treated equally. However, this is far from the truth. There are many rallies every day which support that idea in the hope for equal rights for all. When the Declaration of Independence was written, it said, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." When the Founding Fathers wrote, "All men are created equal," their words meant that only white landowning men were equal. At that time, people owned others, and women were expected to keep to themselves and stay in the kitchen. This is not the United States the founders envisioned. One issue that I could never wrap my head around is the treatment of veterans after the Vietnam War. The soldiers there didn't ask to be in the war, and they didn't ask to be spit on by Americans that they defended. Many of the soldiers were picked by the draft. The hate wasn't part of the fact that the conflict lasted 19 years. A veteran is someone who, at one point in their lives, wrote a blank check made payable to the United States of America. The amount is up to and includes their lives. That is honor, and there are too many people in the country who no longer understand it. This is not the United States the founders envisioned. Although it's true that the quote-unquote American dream works out for some, it doesn't always work out for others. In the United States, out of 331 million people, over 47 million people are living in poverty and dependent on food stamps. Many people say that even though you're born in poverty, you can rise above it. This is true in some cases, but it's hard to succeed when you don't have support from your home support system. This could also add on to the rise in crime rate. If young kids aren't in school, they're more likely to get into drugs and the overuse of alcohol. This is not the United States that the founders envisioned. It's true that this isn't the America that the founding fathers had envisioned, but what did they want America to be? The founding fathers wanted the country to be war-free. The founding fathers were against war, and they didn't want to be involved with foreign affairs. We disappointed them in this aspect on account of the fact that we have been in 12 wars since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. America has been at war for 93% of our history. The fatality rate for those 12 wars were roughly 1,200,000 United States soldiers. James Madison, the fourth president of the United States, said, "No nation could preserve its freedom in the midst of continual warfare." This is what the founders wanted, but we failed to do. As you hear this speech, I ask you the question, what are you willing to do? Will you stand for what you believe in, or be a victim of peer pressure? Will you treat people with respect, or abandon your morals? Will you rise above the system, or just do enough to go by? Think about these questions and ask yourself, is this what the founding fathers would have wanted?
Hi, my name is Sammy, and this is my dad from the military.
Hi, I'm Tim.
So what was your rank in the military?
When I got out, it was a private first class, which is an E3.
How many years did you serve?
I served for 2.
Was it a time of war or peace?
It was a time of peace.
Where did you serve?
I served in 4 different places. I was at Fort Gordon in Georgia. I was at Fort Jackson in South Carolina, Fort Bliss in Texas, and McGregor Range in New Mexico.
I heard that you wanted to go overseas. If so, where?
Yes, I requested Korea.
Why?
My best friend Dave is from Korea that I grew up with, and found out I couldn't go to Korea because I had to be at least enlisted for more than 2 years.
All right. In what branch did you serve?
The U.S. Army.
Did you attend Blue Ridge High School, or have you lived in the community?
I've lived here for approximately 7 years, but no, I did not go to Blue Ridge. I went to Comstock High School in Michigan.
Okay. What was a typical day like in basic training?
At first it was kind of hard because it's classroom stuff. You have to learn a lot of things. So it was not really hard, it's just boring. But once we started going out to the range, learning how to train, doing actual physical activities, that's when it got to be a lot of fun.
All right. What did you miss the most from your time in active duty?
Pretty much like a lot of everything. But probably mainly just the pride that I felt whenever I was a soldier. You just always felt like you were walking around with your chest out, like, I'm a U.S. Army soldier. I'm serving my country. I'm doing what I should be doing.
Can you tell us any stories that were the most memorable from your time in active duty?
Probably the most memorable was when I was in basic training, and at the end of the basic training. And this is kind of a funny story because that first 2 weeks for me was hard because it was classroom and they taught it so boringly that when I went into the military, I thought this is going to be, so fun and everything. I'm going to be a soldier, and then it was boring. And then, so I was just going crazy. I actually told my drill sergeants that I want out. This is not what I signed up for. I thought this was going to be, I'm going to be actually learning to be a soldier, but you guys are just, we're in a classroom every day and we're signing paperwork and we're doing all this stuff. And the drill sergeants told me, it's going to get fun. Don't worry about it. Okay, we're going to start going to the range. You're going to shoot from 16. We're going to do all this fun training. Bayonet training is coming up. That's fun and all this other stuff, right? So I'm like, all right. So I stuck it out, and then sure enough, it did get fun. After about 2 weeks, it started getting really fun. It's kind of scary too. So for anybody that wants to go in the military, you got somebody yelling at you anytime you make the littlest mistake. So you just got to be prepared for that. Plus, I recommend being physically fit when you go in.
Okay, well, that was a great interview. Thanks for talking.
All right.
Anyway, yeah, that's the end.
All right.
Okay, so our first question is, so how many people are currently members of the Farmer City or the Mansfield American Legion, if you guys would know the Mansfield one?
The membership is over 200.
Oh, wow.
But as far as actively involved people, probably a handful.
Do you know how many are involved with the auxiliary?
Again, probably just a handful, again, with the auxiliary.
So what projects are the Legion participating, like each year, maybe not this year specifically, because it's odd, weird year.
Well, right now we're doing a his and hers dinner, which we make available to the community. The Legion itself does sponsor students for Boy State. The auxiliary sponsors students for Girl State. Scholarship? Yeah, we offer scholarships. We do, of course, the color guard thing. What else, gentlemen?
Flags on the cemetery.
Oh yeah, on Memorial Day, we put all the flags on cemetery for all the veterans in the cemeteries. We do like 7 cemeteries.
Are we involved in the annual turkey shoot?
Right. Yeah, we canceled the turkey shoot this year, but we always have a turkey shoot.
The Christmas parade.
Christmas parade. We'll do bingo.
Lovely. We all love bingo. Okay.
Yeah, I think that was.
Yeah. So this is an individual question, or one at a time. So what made you wish to become a member of the American Legion?
I just needed something to try to do a little payback to the community and my fellow veterans.
I'm a retired minister. I was a chaplain. Of course, I help now when I'm not in the pulpit, and so to give back to that situation.
I wanted to be in the Legion, to be in the color guard, because I feel very strongly about all veterans need to be recognized when they're deceased.
For me, I just figure that to let everybody know, freedom's not free.
Okay, so what do you wish that the public understood or knew about the Legion, or just what it was like to serve in the armed forces?
Well, I guess what I would like the public to understand about the Legion is that we are a service organization. We have a nice building here, and yeah, we have a bar, but we're not a bunch of drunks.
Yeah.
We do a lot of good things for the community, and I know we missed some of them when you asked that earlier question.
Sounds like you guys are busy all the
we,
time. So.
We take a lot of pride in what we do. And I just wish that people would understand that and recognize it a little bit more.
One of the things we didn't mention is we provide wheelchairs and handicap. When people donate them to us, we distribute them back out. And I served during the Vietnam era, and there was a time when our country didn't respect the military. And today they do.
Yeah.
And,
Unfortunate.
yeah.
To be that way, but.
Yeah.
I think today 1 in 10 young people serve in the military, and that's a very low number, of course. But it's good for the younger generations to realize and to be educated into. We gave up 3, 4 years longer for some people of our life and away from our families to serve our country.
It's very noble. Yeah, it's a true sacrifice, so.
If I had my wish, I would wish every young person was in some form of military. It makes a man out of you. Other than that, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. So how can our the rich students at the high school or the other schools honor veterans, but not only just on Veterans Day, but throughout the whole year?
My goodness, that's a good question, but I don't have a good answer for you. Just other than to say that once when you come across a veteran or know somebody is a veteran, just thank them for their service.
My uncle served in Korea, and I have one who's still living. He's 92, and he's done over 700 funeral services, and he's the one in Decatur, Illinois, that keeps the record, so it's not a guess. Still doesn't. He doesn't do the winter ones now. But he does I respect someone who would stay that dedicated.
Just throughout your whole life, like you said, he was 92. That's crazy.
For a young person to realize that a man or woman gave up their time to keep this country free so you could enjoy the things you have. They say thank you.
Again, keep it simple, Mike. Okay.
I'd like to add to that. I think Jenny mentioned earlier, freedom is not free. And I think that it would be wonderful somehow if that could be emphasized in the school system. So for all grades, not only just the high school, but for all grades, that freedom is not free, and there is a lot of sacrifice that has gone into keeping the country as free, the freedom that we have. We take it so much for granted, and it's not free. It's cost us a lot.
You're talking about the ones who survived and in this, but we ought to look at the list of those who paid the
ultimate sacrifice.
There are a lot of graduates from Blue Ridge that have come back from different wars without all their body parts. And it's amazing when we start checking into past students at Blue Ridge that served and either again didn't come back or not with all their limbs.
So this is a question that you all don't have to answer. If you don't have any, that's okay. But if you would like to share with us, that'd be more than appreciated. Are there any memorable stories from active duty that anyone would like to share?
And we were told in San Francisco when we were discharged, take your uniform off before you left the base because they would spit on you. And that's the way it was back in the 60s. Because you got to realize, if you go to war, you're either going to kill or get killed. And there's no other doubt. That's what a war is. Yeah. You're either going to kill or get killed. And yeah, there are bad things that happen in war. And some of them we try not to remember. But that is what a war is.
Just on what he was saying there, though, I also was told not to wear my uniform. That way the time was then and the way our country treats our veterans today.
It's a complete turnaround.
Yeah.
Today. I got my first letter of thank you from a Blue Ridge student in the history class. My wife was a teacher for Blue Ridge High School, retired now, but anyway, and that was probably 15, 20 years ago. A student, part of their assignment was to pick out any veteran in the community and write them a thank you letter. And that was the first time I ever heard of anybody saying thank you. And that really meant a lot.
And you said, like, how long after you had served this was?
Oh, it was over 25, 30 years.
Wow.
The first time I got anybody came up and said, thank you for your service. And it was a letter.
There's a lot of people now that will say thank you for your service.
Yeah.
And the big thing for me is Farming Fleet has 2 parking spots. It says veterans only.
Yes.
Really?
If you're a veteran, park there, and it's right up front. To me, that helps.
Yeah.
Many of you young people have family members that have served or are serving, especially if they're much older. Sit down with them sometime, and some of us would not want to talk about some of the experiences that we had while we were in the service, because they aren't really,
No.
yes, like I said earlier, kill or get killed. But talk to your older relatives or people you know and be sincere about it. And because once they're gone, all these stories, that's with everybody. Once you're gone, these stories are done. That's what I would suggest to young people, is to talk to their family members that have served. And some of them won't open up because there were some bad things.
On behalf of the BRHS Student Council, we would like to present you with this check.
Thank you very much. That's
You're
very
welcome.
generous of you. Thank you.